if there's nothing else, one of the things AJ brought up was Kyōgen's Man Up a Tree, the fifth case of the Mumonkan, the Gateless Barrier. If your eye is open, wherever you turn, wherever you look, the truth is there. So that's as good a place as any. As AJ briefly mentioned, the basic koan is this. It sounds rather preposterous, rather absurd, but I trust you will see the point of it. Like a person up a tree hanging by his teeth for dear life on a high branch. His hands can't reach the bough, the feet can't touch the trunk. Another person comes along and asks the point of Bodhidharma coming. If the man up the tree doesn't answer, he fails to meet the questioner's need. If he does answer, he will surely lose his life. Right now, how do you answer? To give a little background, there was a monk, outstanding monk, well over 1,000 years ago in China. Very learned in the sutras and so on, and the Zen texts. He knew it all. One day his master said, I don't want to hear anything about the results of your learning. I just want one word from you. What is your original face before you were born? Well, this very learned monk went back to his room and looked over the sutras and the Zen records and found all kinds of brilliant answers. And every one he gave, the master just said, no, that's just the result of your learning. No, it won't do. If I let you go with that, you will regret it and you will blame me later on. No. The monk continued to pour out all of his knowledge, and all of it was rejected. Finally, thrown into real doubt, the abyss of real doubt, the monk gave up, left the monastery, figured, this is not for me. And so he wandered into the countryside, and they had recently built a memorial tower for a great Zen master, but there was no one there to keep it clean. And so he thought, well, maybe this is about my speed. I'm just going to be a nameless grave sweeper and at least keep this place clean. And so for some time, that's what he did. The next part is very, very famous, and you've all heard it in one context or another. It said that one day he was sweeping and cleaning, and a stone hit against a bamboo and made a pop sound. And with that, he awakened. He realized his true nature, his original face. It said he then bathed, put on fresh robes, bowed in the direction of his master and said, the debt I owe you is greater than the debt to my own parents. This is very heavy duty in China. The debt I owe to you is greater than the debt I owe to my parents. If you had told me it when I begged you to, I would not have had this today. Now that monk was Kyōgen. And I trust you can see what he has done, a bit of a strange way, but he has condensed his life of practice and struggle into a man up a tree. Out of his great compassion, he's trying to put you where he was, in a sense. In English, we say up a tree when you're really in a tough situation, or out on a limb when you're really taking an extreme case. So even the imagery fits very well with English. He's up a tree and out on a limb. And then someone comes by and asks a question. Well, as a monk, he's required numberless beings set free. If he doesn't answer, he fails. If he does answer, if he opens his mouth even, he will surely fall and die. At just such a time, How do you answer? If you can take this with the seriousness that Kyōgen created it, when you come to one-on-one, we can do that koan. Show me what that living truth is. As AJ said, there's nothing to fear. Is there any question about that koan? Again, not now, but after the retreat, if you're interested. It's case 5 of the Gateless Barrier, the Mumon-kan. The basic context, I trust, is clear. We're not talking about somebody up a tree. We're talking about us, here and now. Some of these images, some of these metaphors, so to speak, can be difficult to get to the pith, to the point of it, Partly because, well, a lot of it is Chinese or Japanese or Korean, and it's in that culture. None of us here are Chinese, Japanese. Well, one's Japanese. You're beyond being Japanese, though. Chinese or Koreans. There's no Chinese or Koreans here. So, yes, it's a kind of a foreign culture. The metaphors don't always work. But once you get under the surface, there's something very human about it. And we can all relate to it. But again, we need sometimes to understand we might say, cultural context. And some of it, after all, it is basically a monastic, that is monks, men. Some of it is rather macho. Some of it is rather macho. So we can do some refining to bring it down to earth here in our context. Remember, you are all except for you and I, huh? Europeans, huh? I'm an American. And then there's someone from Japan, huh? There is a common thread running through, although sometimes some background can be helpful. Huh? One of the very basic teachings of Zen is what's called great trust or great faith, great determination, and great doubt. Gao Feng, one of the Chinese Zen masters, about 1,000 years ago, he spoke of it as like a tripod, what this camera is on. There's 3 legs, huh? Great trust, great determination, and great doubt. If any one of those is missing, it's like a tripod. It'll just fall over. It won't work. But the imagery he uses, I have to say, is very macho. It might sound Japanese to you, but actually it's Chinese. But to see under the surface, what is he really pointing at? For example, he says, what is this great faith, this great trust? He says, oh, it's like Mount Sumeru. Mount Sumeru is the mythical mountain in the center of the universe, huh? In Indian mythology. Huh? So you might say it's like leaning against Mount Everest. Huh? How can you doubt it? It's like leaning against a brick wall. Huh? No doubt, no doubt. You have to have trust or faith in that. Even to say trust or faith, it's right here. Like the ground that you walk on. Huh? This might be a bit difficult for the Dutch, who are basically a couple feet under water, right?
Yeah.
But you see what he's saying.
We trust our dams, though.
Okay, dam. So, but it's something that is solid. And from our experience, may not be perfect, it doesn't matter, but from our experience, we know we can trust that. Then he says, the second leg, great determination of purpose. What's that like? He says, well, it's like you suddenly encounter the man who killed your father. This is China. To have one's father killed. You've just encountered the person who killed your father, and you immediately want to cut him in half with your sword. A little macho, huh? Maybe a little bit of a macho image, but I think you get the point, huh? You have no thought about, am I going to survive? Maybe I'll get cut. No, there's just something that must be done without any concern for your own safety. Huh? You must avenge the death of your father. Again, you have to see this in this case, more than Buddhist, Confucian cultural context. Huh? No thought about it, no doubt about it. You just want to cut him in two with your sword. Huh? Okay, it's a good one, but there are some women in the crowd here, so maybe we can say, what is this great determination of purpose? Well, maybe it's like cradling your newborn baby in your arms. Then he continues, that third leg, great doubt. What is that like? He says, this is like you've done something terribly wrong, and you're just about to get caught. The teacher or your mother, just about ready. There's no way to avoid it. Okay? You've done something terribly wrong, and you know. You're not caught yet, but any minute now, Jeffrey, what did you do? I can remember a couple of experiences as a child. But do you see what he's saying? This isn't some intellectual doubt, huh? Well, it could be that. God maybe doesn't even, it has nothing to do with that. It's a sensation. Actually, the Chinese characters, it's a great doubt sensation. It's a sensation. You're just waiting for the foot to drop, as we say, huh? What did you do? But you see, it's very potent. It's very powerful. It's not something intellectual. Huh? You're about ready to be condemned. There's no way around it. Huh? But again, it's also a very macho, I suppose. I mean, you girls never did anything bad when you were young, right? Okay. I can remember a couple of times where just waiting for the shoe to drop, as we say. Jeffrey, what did you do? She found it. Ooh.
What did you do?
What did you do? I forget. So long ago. Yeah. We start there, we'll need another hour. But you see, he's saying something very potent, very powerful, and that can be very helpful in our practice. Huh? Missing any one of those is like one leg of the tripod missing. It just falls over. And yet the imagery, it's a bit bizarre. Is rather macho. But he's talking about something human. He's not talking about something macho. Huh? So, please, when you read the Zen text, don't be fooled by the surface imagery. Of course it's going to sound strange to you. Some of it's well over 1,000 years old from China or Korea or Japan. Do you expect it to make perfect sense? How could it? I have trouble reading Shakespeare or Chaucer's Canterbury Tales. It's in English, but it's old enough so that it's not clear to me sometimes. Well, imagine the context here. But when you get under the surface, I assure you, they're talking about something very human, very human. So this example of Kyōgen's man up a tree, he's not talking about something strange or far away at all. He's talking about our actual situation. And he's giving it to us with all the love in his heart to help us see through it. Huh? Please feel free to stand up and stretch for a moment. Does anyone have a question or concern from out of the practice? Please feel free. Thijs.
Sideways, you mentioned the difference between men and women as a subtopic. I'm glad there are so many women here in the room practicing. I myself am quite feminine, I think. And I was wondering, is there in your experience, or maybe from the history of Zen Buddhism, a difference between the practice of men and women? Or did it change over time, or do we see in our present situation a difference? My question is,
Mhm. Well, first of all, we probably should open the floor to the women here.
Yeah.
But there are women who have awakened and become Zen masters, but they're not very well known. There is, the last 10 years, some very good scholarship and English translations done, for example, of Chinese Zen masters, their Zen records. And one of the conclusions that the scholars have come to is basically there were some outstanding female women Zen masters. And the way they succeeded was basically by becoming men, or man-like. In other words, in China, in the Sung dynasty, for example, there were several Zen masters, female women, and their records do exist, and they are being translated now. But if you look at their life, how they lived and what they did, they were nuns, not monks, but nuns, but they had to, in a sense, imitate the life of the men in order to be accepted. Fortunately, we don't have to do that anymore. That's not necessary anymore. So your question is a good one, because in a sense, in the first time in history, within the last, well, recently anyway, it has been possible for women to practice alongside men. But now to find out, naturally, it's not going to be the same. It's not going to be the same. Yeah. I've asked some women who trained for a while in the Hermitage in Kyoto, did you find there was any problem being a woman? And all the women I asked said, no, not really. But again, this is at the Hermitage. In the monastery, if you go to a real training monastery, first of all, lay men may not even be allowed. You would have to be a monk for some monasteries. In others, laymen would be allowed to enter, but only Japanese, for example, in Japan. The monastery I trained in was an exception. They also allowed laymen who were foreigners like myself to train there, and even women, which was very exceptional because this is a training monastery. The women could even stay overnight in a separate room during the session, the week-long retreats, but they could not stay there the rest of the time because it was a monk's training hall. But this was exceptional where I trained. They allowed women to come and to sit. Ruth did a rohatsu there, 2002? 23 years ago. You were 9 years old at the time? Probably you'll be coming before long, huh? That smile says it all. Huh? No, but you were there, so you might want to say something. But again, let's turn to the women here and see what they can offer. Maybe Elizabeth, start with you. Is there anything you would like to say? You're a woman practicing here.
Thanks for bringing it up. I believe that, speaking generally, men are more attracted to Zazen because the formula is somehow a bit more masculine, with all the rigid structures and the emptiness. Because I think, again, speaking generally, that men are looking for freedom and women are more looking for fullness, for connection. But in my own experience, both paths come together. Because in Zazen, you free yourself from entanglements and grasping and all the things we talked about already. But you also become full because you disappear and you become everything or something. But I think the focus in the tradition has been more masculine, also in the words that are being used, which makes it less attractive for women. when I sit, I consider, well, I heard from a dancing instructor once that our pelvic bone is our home. It's the first bone that is being created, and as a woman, your pelvis is like your, well, it's where your children grow up. It is very tangible that it's your home. So when I sit, it's this grounding of the pelvis that is very helpful, and I can just let life settle itself in this way. So it's a very feminine sense in a way for me. I hope this clears it out a bit. That's my own experience.
Thank you. Fiona?
I think I'm quite masculine. Feminine but very masculine as well. So I was always very more attracted to Zen than any other trainings which would involve singing or I needed the structure and perhaps something I felt was more grounding. But I totally relate to what Elizabeth says as well. But in this grounding, I feel full. I don't know if that answers.
Thank you, Fiona. Ruth?
Well, I started with Zen on Dharma and I felt welcome from the beginning. We were also only 2 or 3 women then. The only problem I found was if you read the books and things, it's always monks wandering on their own through the mountains. I mean, these things a woman won't do. I'm not going to walk on my own through the mountains. And it's not having an example how to be a women friendly, because if a lay woman like me, I mean, I'm married and have children, and it's a completely different life, so the things you encounter during your day are different than monks. But living in Europe or in the time I'm living now, there is more acceptance of women in general. So we get to know each other better, and I think that's okay. And how it will stay.
Thank you. Osako?
I don't practice as many hours you do, but my idea is just you don't need to separate from man and woman. You just jump in what you get. You jump in here, or when you're at Tofukuji, you just jump into Tofuku situation and see what you get, what you want to make it yourself better. So I think there is no really separate from man and woman. But one thing is, for example, when you come to Japan and decided to go to the monastery or any training temple, do not bring your culture with you. Just leave it behind. And just, I'm sure there are a lot of things you do not bring, but that's the situation you decide to do that. So just throw yourself in and you got the best out of that experience. And better practice here than there.
Karen?
Yeah,
maybe lucky in the sense that I wasn't really raised with any ideas about what should be masculine or what is masculine or what is feminine, and I've never been put into any role of the feminine woman, and in that sense those concepts don't mean that much to me. It's only later in life that I've discovered that to a lot of people they do mean a lot. But to me, being here in this mixed group, it feels very natural. And I only know my own experience. I don't know what the difference would be between some of it and others.
Yvonne?
I do think the setting, the form is very masculine. Like Fiona, I was always and am attracted to do things with the boys. Otherwise, I would never have gone up a glacier or whatever. So yes, I am attracted to it as well. So by times, there's a repulsion of sitting in front of a lot of guys. And I think a woman in the row is just cosmetic, and I don't want to be cosmetic. So I rejected also the image on the flyer very much. Yeah, that's over, but it's there was a flyer once inviting others to join us. But in a setting with two males address women sitting is a woo situation for me. It was so overwhelming, feminized, that it was too much. Yeah. So yes, I like to make sure, and I don't think about it that much. And I sit. And when I sit, I'm comfortable. And it doesn't matter if you're a guy or you're a woman. That's not the point. But as I look back or I look around, and I think, yes, it is. I do think it's masculine. And all the masters of old masters. So I read a book, it's called The Hidden Lamp. It's stuffed with women throughout the ages and commented by females in Zen, or leading females in Zen, more or less, I don't know. Yeah, that's other stuff. Yeah, it's really hardship. And the choice to join males and change your life completely and leave your whole culture back. Yeah, that's killing the father and the mother. I would say. Well, that's it. It's okay.
Monica?
Yes, first I want to say something about me. For me, the teacher is important. My first teacher came from Japan and was very strong, and my masculine, I was very strong too. And when I went to a retreat to Michael von Brück, I not so often did it, and they say, "Oh, you." And then my first teacher, Williges, developed his feminine, and it has an effect on me, and people say, "Oh, now you are more relaxed." So, and we were on it's another point. We were on a trip in China, and we visited a Shan monastery, and they had a temple behind the temple, and there we could sit, only we as a group, and the most of us were women. And I had no idea the monks do not sit, we could not see him. And at the end, we after a few days, we saw they had a separate room closed. We could not see, sometimes we could see there's lights, they are sitting, but completely separated. And I was very often in a monastery, Shan monastery in Taiwan. There are nuns, a few monks, but the nuns organize all. And I think the organization is more female.
In Taiwan.
Here is masculine. In Taiwan, one example, after a long period of sitting, we have a longer break. Men's from Germany, they did only stand up and went out. The nuns from Taiwan, Chan nuns, were sitting and do
massaging,
good for the body for a long time. And, yes, it's different. And another difference, when I organize day retreat, for me it's important the song. An example, the first day when I wake
to wake up?
Wake up in the morning, I had what is the name? I have it from Caspar. It's from Japan. What is the name from the...
Like a bell? The ting ting, the clappers?
Not what I did the first day.
Yeah, the ting-a-ling thing.
you know. But here I have to use the
wooden clappers.
Clapper.
Yeah.
The first is more for my ear. I think it's feminine too. So, or flowers in the room or such things.
Yeah.
Often more female.
Thank you. That answer your question?
Yes. really grateful for this answer.
Good. Well, it's about time for a tea break. Are there any other questions or concerns, immediate questions or concerns? If not, in the late afternoon, there'll be a brief Dharma talk by Dude, and he will speak frankly of his own experiences and some things that he has come to. So we look forward to that. Once again, any remaining questions or concerns?
I have a question.
Yeah, yeah.
It's maybe we can elaborate on it later or tomorrow, but it's about the when we speak about masculine and feminine, it's the question of love. And from what I hear in stories in Zen, is the harshness. And where is the love in the harshness? And I would like you at some point to elaborate on that.
Yeah. Well, in a word, done right, that harshness is love. You're a parent, you know that. Yeah.
Yes.
Any parent knows that, yeah. Done rightly, done correctly, it is love. For example, the teacher in the example I gave, where he said, no, he rejected all of those answers, the very brilliant answers that Kyōgen gave. How harsh, how unfeeling, how cruel But no. When you see where it ends up, he himself is in tears thanking his teacher for not giving him an answer, for in a sense being harsh. If not, he would not have had, literally, I would not have had this day, meaning he would not have awakened and realized it. But it has to be done properly. Harshness can be, can become abuse very easily. The head monk's not passing his koan, goes around and beats the shit out of all the other monks now. This is something else. So, yeah. But we can take that up later tomorrow if you would like.